Hey friends, and welcome back to the Hippie Martha Hormone Hour. My name's Ashley, creator and owner of the Hippie Martha, and today's episode is one I wish every parent could hear, especially those of you raising teens or tweens with wombs. I'm sitting down with Hayley Niel, owner of Womb Honey, a fellow fertility awareness educator, an advocate for cycle wisdom and body literacy, especially for the youth, and my dear friend that I got to know and love during our time together in the Wells School of Body Literacy. Together, we're unpacking all the stuff most of us never have learned and how we can do it differently with our kids. So welcome, Hayley. Thank you so much for being here. My first ever guest on the podcast. So if you want to share anything that I missed, I think this is just going to be a very candid, open talk. Both Hayley and I are very passionate about working with the youth. And so we'll maybe just start there.
Yay, thank you. No, you did that beautifully, and I'm just excited and honored to be able to be in your presence in any way and to get to chat about things that we chat about all the time. And I think we probably assume, or at least I do assume, other people have these conversations too, and then realize that they don't and they need to. And so I'm excited that we get to bring what we love to more people.
Absolutely. Yes. So share a little bit. You have three daughters, right?
Yes.
So growing up, how did did you know about body literacy? Like, I know for me, I knew nothing about body literacy until I was like 35 years old. And so it was like this eye-opening experience. And I know to have my own daughter and to have her go through this, just being a teen and getting her period and all the things, it was a lot. So to have three daughters, how did you manage that? And did you experience body literacy at a young age?
No, no, not at all. I mean, I think I think it's a fascinating thing raising kids because that definitely brings it like puts a spotlight on things that you did or didn't learn as a kid yourself, like through each stage that your kid's going through, for better or worse, right? And there are things that I think I took for granted that, oh, wow, that was unique that we did learn some of those things. But as far as like what was going on in my body and my period and everything like that, I didn't learn anything. I mean, I was the youngest of or I had two older sisters, and I think my mom just assumed that they were going to teach me stuff and tell me things, and they weren't, and they didn't. And so a lot was just figured out in with friends and hearing stuff, but most of it I didn't learn until I was an adult, until I had kids.
Yeah,
But yeah, and then each of my girls are so unique that I feel like everything feels new. So yeah.
absolutely. I know it was really fun. I want to share the story too, because Hayley knows it very well. When we had classes together, every Wednesday we would meet up, and my daughter actually got her first period while I was on a call with all these women who were so like gung-ho on period positivity and all these things. And she was so excited. She like busted in and was like, Mom, I got my period. And everyone like in the background was like cheering. Like we stopped class and like celebrated her. And I like it's such a cool thing to kind of learn it and then like teach it right then and there. Like I was super blessed to have that, but I definitely would have never gone that route had I not become an educator. So it's definitely cool to raise body literate teens. I don't know how body literate your teens enjoy being body literate, but I know my teen, she definitely gets she likes feeling empowered and knowing about her body and knowing all the cool things it can do.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that was a special.
It was so good.
Us. We love that.
It was. So today I kind of want to kind of dive into how can we raise body literate teens, right? How, like, what's the best way that we can do that? I do want to talk about fertility awareness and how you apply it to the teens that you teach. And then kind of talking about periods and hormones and moods without shaming and with just love and support, especially when you get perimenopausal or menopausal, you get down to the age where it's like, okay, these two do not go together, but really they do, where we're both kind of moody and our or significant others sometimes. But I think that it's good to have like a support system and a good way of like, all right, how do we talk about these things? And I know we might have some time to cover like consent and what healthy conversations around relationships is and how to support, not just educate our daughters during puberty. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Does all that sound good?
Amazing. Let's do it.
All right. So let's see. I have like a list of questions. I guess, is there anything that you want to start with that you would, if you were a parent and you didn't know anything, what would be one thing that you would want to educate your teens about in regards to either periods or puberty or just becoming more body literate?
Probably starting with yourself. I think that there's kids, they interpret a lot that's said and not said. They read between the lines. And I think if parents are feeling really insecure about their own selves or in a lot of, and like you were saying, they're going through a lot of confusion and trying to figure themselves out. Kids are going to pick up on some of that discomfort. And not to say that moms should be comfortable and happy and I feel fine all the time, but having a relationship with your body just matters so much. And it needs to start from there of like a deep love and gratitude for their body. And so if that's not there for someone, I would say work on that, get
Yeah.
there. You can really like start to have a partnership with your body because that's what you're really gonna want to pass on to your kids. So
Yeah. Aside from that, what are some kind of more gentle ways that you have introduced psycho awareness to your daughters in
right.
like not just like overload of information. Like I know for me, it has been we do like little bits. Like it literally started when she was like 7 or 8. And she'd come into the bathroom and see me changing my menstrual cup or, ask questions like, why do you have hair and I don't? Or, just like things that like start to happen or like breast buds and things like that. So I guess what conversation starters or what should parents look for to kind of prep their kids for this big change?
That's a great question. I think there's a lot of, oh, how do I do this and what should I do? And like you were saying, some of it, you don't have to think so hard about it. Some of it you're probably already doing, like just letting them observe you and be a part of your own practice and what you're doing and letting them ask questions, right? Letting them ask tons of questions and then like you asking tons of questions, just curiosity. But then I think also we've done a lot of books. We have a lot of books and I think that is a huge help because you don't ever every kid is going to be different. Like especially between my three girls, I've got one that will ask every single question. She wants to know every single thing. And then another that is like, even since she was little, like, stop talking. I don't want to listen to this. And so it's kind of like, here's a book. Let's read through this. But then like asking questions about it and talking about the things that we're reading in the books. And then like following their lead is probably one of the most, like the biggest ways that we've talked about cycle awareness, where it's just like you said, sometimes it's just little bits. You just kind of throw in little bits of information here and there. And then having them in my classes, like I had both my oldest two in my classes and then my youngest like helping me prepare things and just being involved in the preparation of the classes. But yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I know it's funny because, yeah, she's been in all of my classes. She helped me make a felted vulva. So we now have two felted vulvas. Like it's funny because Silas helped make the clitoris. And he had no idea what he was making. He was like 7 or 8 at the time, but he was just like, this is fun. And like, I'm like, okay, you need to make it this shape. But I think just incorporating them in and getting them like little exposures is awesome. And car rides, I will say we have very good conversations on car rides. So
Yeah.
definitely, yeah, I think if you're wanting to just be open and share and are comfortable sharing, I think that just makes that communication less awkward.
Absolutely. Yeah, car rides. It's like they're totally trapped, so you're just going to be in there.
Right.
But and I feel like with car rides too, I have to be careful about sometimes it's like, oh, okay, perfect. I have this long drive with you, even or a 20-minute drive with you. Like, what are we going to talk about? And sometimes I have to realize like, oh, they're not in the mood for that. They're in the mood for me to turn up whatever music they choose, and we're going to sing it as loud as we can, and it's going to be fun. So it's like not every car ride is going to be a
Right.
conversation or they're never going to come in the car with me. So
Exactly.
But car rides are really great times for talks
Yeah.
about these kind of things.
I've also noticed like her mind does not turn off at night. And so I will lay with her in bed and it's just gab, 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 gab. And finally I'm like, okay, we've got to go to bed. But I know those are also good little moments to kind of put in there too.
Yeah, I love that.
Yes. So for those that don't know what fertility awareness is in body literacy, would you like to just give a quick description of that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think fertility awareness, I'm thinking about it as a lifestyle practice, obviously tracking your menstrual cycle, your bleeding, your cervical fluid, your daily morning temp, but also paying attention to how you feel and what you're observing, all the things in your body. And I think that's where it flows into body literacy of really knowing how the body you live in works and then observing it and what it does and having that like partnership with it so that you know when it needs support and how it needs support. And fertility awareness, going that extra step of knowing how your reproductive cycle works and knowing the signs in, both physical symptoms and other symptoms as well to know when you're ovulating and yeah, observing and flowing with your body and not fighting up against it all the
Yeah.
time, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, I
So,
definitely agree. And I think for teens, and what I feel like people don't understand too is, I just saw someone make like a cycle bead bracelet and it came in like a teen pack. And for me, I was just like, this is not really going to be super useful because not every teen has a regular cycle or a bleed every month. And so I think what fertility awareness can do is help them understand that it can help predict, period. Like a lot of people think, oh, I just don't want them to get pregnant, right? I feel like that was ingrained when I was growing up. Like you're a teenager, you cannot get pregnant. And so at an early age, I was put on birth control, not only just for pregnancy prevention, but also for heavy periods and PCOS and all this other stuff. And I think that's still a common thread in today's society. When we look at it, we know that fertility awareness can be really empowering and actually has greater outcomes, right? Like we know when the period's going to start because we're tracking ovulation. We know when, if we aren't ovulating, like there's maybe a problem, or if they have really heavier, painful periods, then we can go seek out help and get those teens the help that they need versus never being addressed. And so I think people maybe assume that teaching a teen about their body is going to make them more promiscuous but it's honestly the opposite from what I've gathered and what I've seen and what I've taught. So I don't know how you feel about that.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, we hear this, it's such a catchphrase, but it's so true that like knowledge is power, that like we've got to have more informed choices, right? That they know why they're doing things. And I think as I look around at my friends and friends that are raising kids, I realize that this generation of parents really came with this different way of looking at the world where we were like, we want to know why. That our parents are telling us, you have to do this, you have to do this. And we were very much like, well, tell me why. If I know the reason why, then I'll make a choice that's good for me. And so we're not afraid of the knowing the whys, really, which is so helpful for our youth and the generation that's being raised right now because they can see things in different ways than we can. And we need to be able to like give them that why. And we should want to because we know how much it matters.
Yeah.
But I think we were raised by a fear-based generation.
Yes, that is 100% true. And I feel like this method that we teach and share with teens really goes against that fear base and puts it more into that open area of just love and education and understanding. I saw a study where I think the teen pregnancy population is like extremely down, whether that's birth control or maybe they are wanting to are understanding their body more. I'm not really sure. I didn't read like the full article, but I think that just goes to show how things are changing, and I also feel that there's so much more availability to
Yes.
these teens, which is really nice. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I just love this so much. So I know that I get a lot of questions regarding how can fertility awareness help teens, especially if they're not sexually active. And I think we kind of touched on this a little bit, or I guess more so what parents are concerned about is this going to make them more sexually active? And what do you think about that?
I mean, I think like confidence in period prediction is like a great selling point for the teens for sure. But the confidence, like the high value is actually like the confidence in knowing their body and knowing what they're observing and knowing when they're actually fertile. That I don't think girls go into relationships thinking, I'm gonna have babies. I want to have babies. They're just experiencing things as their views of the world and relationships and their bodies like is changing. And so giving them some confidence in that body and how it works and that they have some power over their choices, I think is going to make them make better choices for it. And
Amen.
yeah,
100%.
so I don't think it's like, cool, that's how I get pregnant. Let's go get pregnant. Like, I don't know where this belief or fear is coming from. Like, have any parents like talked to a teenager? They don't want that. Like, they
No.
just want the person they're interested in to text them back. Yeah, I don't know. Giving them the confidence in their body and the confidence in the choices they can make about their body, I think will lead to better choices.
Yes. Yeah, because body literacy and fertility awareness, I mean, it is a daily choice that you make, based on what is going on. I guess leading into that, maybe would you like to explain what you teach as a fertility awareness educator and how you get teens to actually do the practice? So maybe explain the practice a little bit and how you suggest them to use the practice.
Yeah, I mean, I think it starts quite small for many of them, but I mean, just starting with the little things of writing it down somewhere, right? Putting in information that you're observing and just really like starting to pay attention.
Yeah. And that's paying attention to like cervical fluid. And we know that some teens might not experience cervical fluid. Teaching that and understanding that their body's not broken.
Yes,
It's communication between the brain and the ovaries. And during our teen years, like that communication kind of is just learning how to work and function.
for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's some girls, it's like where they're starting is just knowing what day they're on of their
Mhm.
cycle, of like just keeping track of the days. And then it's like, then you add in small things of, did you, every time you're having a headache, or you write that down and are you starting teaching them how to start to see patterns that are happening too? And, or, if their anxiety is it increasing all the time? Is it situational? Or is it because it increases every time a few days before I start my period? Like just starting to see those rhythms too. And then I think making it fun too, of like, what are some fun signs you're seeing of when you're feeling more social or confident, or are you feeling, yeah, you seem like really excited to try new things, or you're really creative right now. You always head to we have like a craft space in our home that's like our office, and it's very art based, but I can see, when my 17-year-old, she will just like be in a mode and it is just pure creative chaos in here for a few days. And then she's like, nah, I don't care. But it's just like helping them see these like little things and observing and start finding the patterns in those things, I
I
think
love
is a
that.
good way to approach it with teens. Yeah,
Yeah, because I feel like there's like this happy medium. Like if you're constantly like hovering or, you're not really empowering then, you're being more of a dictator. So allowing them that space and understanding like, oh yeah, like I was really creative today, huh? Like maybe I am around my ovulatory phase or, I really wanted to just be alone. Maybe I'm gonna get my period soon.
absolutely. And it's amazing, I think, to see them you can like see a light, like a switch turn on where they start to feel empowered by those things. Where my daughter will be like, I knew I was going to start my period. But there's a difference in just like, my app tells me that it was going to start in a few days and it did. there's a difference where it's like, I'm close, I can feel it.
Yeah.
And then being like, I was right. I knew this
Yes.
was going to happen and it did. They just, I don't know, that boost of confidence and like feeling empowered by their body and not like surprised by it or something is amazing to watch happen.
Absolutely. And I think we're always being told what to do. And so, like, to reclaim that is super, super powerful, especially when you're a teenager, because you don't get a lot of control. You don't get to say what we eat or what we do or where we go. And I think that's also another thing that I see when I teach these classes is these teens just need a little breathing room. And a lot of times, like with sports and with activities or clubs or whatever they're in, they don't have the time to say no or to rest. And so this at least gives them that connection to maybe say, you know what, right now I just need a little break, right? It empowers them to take those pauses when beforehand, if they didn't know and they just felt like crap, they would be like, oh, well, I just got to push through. But now, after they learn body literacy and fertility awareness and are like, oh, yeah, I am in my luteal phase. I'm going to get my period and I need to rest. Like I can tell my body just needs more sleep versus, okay, let's go, go, go. I think that can
Absolutely.
be really helpful.
Well, yeah, and I want to add to that that like what is fascinating to me about the youth are that one, they haven't had the years of some of the learning and the conditioning that we have. And so they are looking at the world with so much more possibility. And so, like for example, when I was teaching a group of teens once and I was talking about this idea of resting on your period. And where I'm coming from is that like I'm learning how to rest. I'm trying to give myself permission to rest after years of never doing that. And so I give this idea that like, could you just take a couple days off or could you slow down or do these different things? And, you still have to show up to school and your sports and all these different things. And then it was like, what do you guys think? And they were like, and I'm thinking, "Oh, you're going to still have to push through, and your coach doesn't care at all if you're bleeding, and you're going to still have to run all the laps and do all the things." And they were like, oh, that would be so cool if on bleeding days we tell our coach and we just like do less reps and we like lighten our load on that. And I was just like, how do you think your coach would react? And they were like, well, our coach needs to know this too. And they just like the way that they were like, oh yeah, I can shape my world to fit my experience and my body and what is like meant for me versus we're like trying to twist and contort ourselves to fit into the hustle world and all the different things. And it's like rest is a radical act of resistance and activism, all these things. And it is, the youth are like, no, how do we shape the world to better fit us and
Right.
what we need? And I just think that's remarkable. And if we don't have, it's like us giving them the why that matters so much to them. And they're like, okay, we're going to make this better.
Exactly. And that's so awesome that they even, like, as a teen, I would have never thought to do that or say that. And so, how cool is it? Like, as a parent, you can also empower them, right? And support them during this, but you also have to kind of release that too. Because I know for me, I'm like, okay, Emmy's, as she's bleeding, she needs to rest. Like, even though she still has some chores to do, I'll let it slide. So, like, I think in my own mind too, and growing up in that constant like go, 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 where you have to be so productive all the time, living in a man's world, right? I mean, it's hard to not do that. And then to do the opposite and in follow into or flow into that rest or that state of rest. So I love
Definitely.
that they did that. That's so cool. Or like that they just came up with that. That's amazing.
They just do. They're
Yeah.
just,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's awesome. I guess from here, what would you say to a parent who feels like they've waited too long to start this conversation, or their teen already has their period, like they're doing whatever. Maybe they're even sexually active and are on birth control. I guess, do you still recommend teaching this to them?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't you think like it's never too late to talk about these things and to connect with
Yeah.
them? And like, I don't think like we don't know what they actually know or what they
Right.
don't know. That I think we would be surprised at maybe what they have already picked up. And so some of the, if you've waited a really long time, some of what you're doing might have to be some fixing of things that they've picked up. Probably no matter when you start, is going to be some fixing because of what they pick up around them. So I think no, start where they're at and figure out what they do know and what they don't know and then just get curious with them, you know.
I agree. Well, and I think even like when I worked labor and delivery, I had women who came in pregnant who had no idea their anatomy. And I literally had to do an anatomy lesson with them during delivery. And it's like, oh my mercy. Like we need to educate. Like,
Good.
and and if it's awkward for you to educate or you don't know your own anatomy, like hire one of us, right? Like
Right.
this is what we're here for. We are, I mean, yes, it can be a little awkward sometimes, but I think with teens especially, they love facts. They
Yeah.
love learning about cool things that our bodies do, like fun facts about your body, and you can really incorporate that into that education because I'm going to tell you what, I think there's what, 8 states that one don't even teach sexual education in the United States. And then the rest are all different types and levels of sexual education. So they don't even get what they need really as far as anatomy and physiology. I mean, the clitoris was just what, 2002? I think it was just like started to become in textbooks, which is the saddest thing ever.
Yeah, I'm in Utah and they have pretty strict rules on what they can and can't teach. I'm on an advisory board for reviewing sex education materials for schools, and it's shocking what they can and can't teach. And the thing is it really has to be fact based, which is excellent, but that's where how we teach facts matters too. Like empowering these girls to be proud of these incredible bodies that they
Yeah.
have and what all the things that it does.
Yeah. And I think also, I don't know, in your class, the class that you teach for body literacy, so we do the cycle show, which I'm sure you do the
Yes.
cycle show. And I also created this large penis and we do the journey of the sperm because
That's
I think
cool.
it's so important to teach both sides,
Yeah.
right? In development and understanding because, you just never know. And maybe your daughter one day will be able to teach a boy like about his anatomy, and where how the journey of the sperm comes from. So
Yes.
it's fun.
Good.
It's funny because like I bring this big penis out and everything and like at first they're just like what on earth did I get myself into, I think. And like 5 minutes in, they're like into it. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
they're just so into it, and we act things out and we play different roles. And I think that's the beauty of like having a community and having a class that you teach together with other girls or even boys. I've taught both of them together, taught girls too. And they're all so receptive about it, which is the coolest thing. They just like they have like no shame. They're just like, okay, yeah, whatever. Like it is what it is. So
It is. It's there's something about that. I mean, that's a plug for us and
yeah,
our teaching, right? That there's something about private education in these smaller, intimate groups that allow them to relax and to really like to lean into the curiosity that they all have, but they aren't ever really given the space to really explore those questions and figure out what they have. But every girl, I always start a class with like, how many of you got forced or bribed to be here? And they're always like, yep, me. Like they aren't choosing this class, but then by the end of it, it's like, there's not more classes
right.
more. Like they love learning about these things. So
Yeah, I feel like it's almost like those mini circles that you create. It's just like this community. And even if none of the girls know each other or none of them hang out at school, but they know each other, like it
Mhm.
all ends up working out and they get along and like they become friends during that time. It's just like this equalness. There's not like I'm better than you or anything like that, which is really cool
Absolutely.
that I've seen. So I guess leading on that sexual education, what is one myth about teen sex ed that drives you absolutely nuts?
I mean, probably one that carries into adulthood for a long time for so many women is believing that they're fertile at any time, that they have to like be so careful and cautious all the time instead of knowing exactly when they're fertile.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I want to hear what yours is too.
I think it's that, and I hate that. I know it's important. Okay, people are gonna think badly about me, but the STI prevention, the
Mm.
amount of STI talk that is in sex ed is ridiculous when you don't even know common anatomy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I'm just like, this is so stupid. Or, they'll be like, okay, put a condom on, and then they'll show it on a banana, but then like they won't actually go through all of the steps and all the things to look for, to apply a condom to make sure there's no holes in it, like all the things. Or why, like because they don't know, they don't teach the anatomy or the sperm health, right? They don't teach any of that. And I think the anatomy and the STI prevention is like, it's just like unbalanced. So, and I know in my state, they've have included more of like consent and things like that, which is great. I think, I touch on consent during my courses or my classes, and we usually do like a role play. And you and I actually got to experience this at our retreat in Oregon when we went. But when we sat next to one another and we asked if we could have a hug or if I could touch you or say something nice about you, and we had to respond back with no.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we're not used to saying no. We're used to just complying. And
Yeah.
so we go through a lot of role play in our class with that. And I know in the educational system that's not how it's taught. It's basically
No.
if you say no, it's no, and then it's just left at that. So I wish things were done a little differently, but we can
Yeah,
just
I mean,
start with what we have, right?
exactly. And it's this fear. It's the fear that you're like, okay, what are the potentially the worst things that could happen if our kids are sexually active? Let's teach them that. Let's
Yeah.
teach them the things to most be afraid of. They do this with so many things. They do this with like driver's education, like
Mhm.
show the most horrific car accidents and like scare these kids into driving safe or the worst things that could be happening with sex. Let's make them afraid of this thing that then eventually at some point you don't have to be afraid of anymore. And they just expect them to turn that switch and be like, oh, this thing that I was like terrified of and it was so scary and I worked very, very hard to avoid. Now it's okay.
Yeah.
Now this is fine. And that's confusing versus teaching them how does your body work and are you in charge of your body?
Yes.
Like how to be in charge of your body.
Right. Well, and I think going on that, you are really reducing the risk of sexual predators too. I mean, if your daughter or son know anatomical parts, like I think I saw something that they're at like 60% reduced risk of coming in contact with a predator. So I think it can be also helpful just for that alone. And
Absolutely.
that they know to speak up, they know that they're comfortable with you. And so if something does happen, they can also come to you for that. So I think that's another added bonus to understanding your body and knowing the parts that it has.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I think with along with that, with like teaching consent and just how early it starts, that you're teaching them the practice of honoring their body and honoring like the desires of their body. And you start so young by telling them what your body is telling you. Like, this is your body. What is it telling you? What do you need right now? Learning little things about how to tell when you're thirsty or when you're hungry or when you need rest, that this is teaching you how to like understand these things. And I mean, it's so funny. My littlest daughter, she's 9, and we obviously started these things with her. We just knew so much more, and so she's being raised from a younger age way better
Yeah.
than our older guinea pig kids. But she'll say things like, "Well, you don't know what it feels like in my body." Like when someone's trying to tell her that, oh, that's not scary, or you don't need to be worried about this, or whatever. And she'll just be like, well, you don't know what it feels like in my body. And it's just this interesting thing that because from a very young age, it's been like, what are you feeling? What are you
Right.
thinking? And then I think how that can transition into being able to say, that no, I trust what I'm feeling and thinking, and I'm in charge of taking care of those things. You're not outsourcing what you need to anyone else but you. And then I just think how, yeah, like how that transitions into consent is so clear to me that no, I choose what comes in any form. I choose all the decisions for this body and no one else. And I know how to talk about it. And
Yeah.
I know how to say what's right or wrong for me. And yeah, no one else is making the calls. You're like the sovereign, the queen of your own body.
I love that. That was great. It's so eye-opening, and I think it's so much different than when we were taught and what we've learned and what we've been shown growing up. And so I'm so proud of like this generation to just kind of take that power and just reclaim it, which is so cool.
Absolutely.
We only have maybe like 10 more minutes, but I do want to touch on a couple different things. So one is, how do we help teens, especially girls, feel empowered and not embarrassed by their period? So let's talk a little bit about period health and kind of, what parents should know in regards to red flags, such as like irregularity, extreme pain, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, taking out the shame, right? And you had mentioned, you touched on it earlier of being a part of a group, I think can really be empowering too. And to see that it's not just a small group they're learning with or their friends or just them and their mom. Like it's everyone that's having periods. It's all of the women that came before you that experience these things. There is, I think, a lot of power in knowing you are a part of something big. And yeah, taking the shame out of those things and holding men accountable to that as well, right? That you don't need to be hiding, pulling a tampon out and excusing yourself to go to the bathroom. Like your male teacher can handle you saying this.
Yeah.
More than half of the world has periods or has had periods before, so it's okay to
Absolutely.
station.
Do you feel that in schools that periods are supported?
Getting there for sure. I mean, Utah just a couple years ago had a new policy that all schools K through 12 have to have free period products
That's
available.
amazing.
And so that was a big shift too. So I think schools are definitely getting there, but there's always work to do.
Are there any red flags in teen menstruation that parents should know about? So, like, what are things that teens could come about, or that you should maybe be asking the teens, like, that they should be concerned about or be watching for?
Yeah. Gosh, I think you're more suited to answer this for sure. You're the expert. But I think obvious things like really extreme bleedings or severe pain, probably missing periods would be a big red flag I would make sure parents knew about. Like like girls not starting until they're 18, or having really missed periods, anything that not eating enough, over exercising, trying to help people understand that like your period is a marker of health.
Yeah.
You want to be able to see it. And yeah, but also not being too afraid of things. I think that especially for those first year or two, the irregularity is so normal. And so yeah, not being too concerned there, but then watching for those rhythms and if they go.
And I know a lot of my community, I'm like, come to me first before
Mm,
you go to the doctor,
yeah,
because I know a lot of doctors that will instantly put them on birth control to
yeah.
regulate them out. And that is not what we want to do. And if you are a parent listening, I think the biggest thing I can tell you with birth control is that it disrupts our HPO axis, so our hypothalamus pituitary ovarian axis. So it's like the main signal from our brain to our ovaries. And that communication is already learning how to communicate, right, during our teen years. And so when we disrupt that even more, it can delay and affect these young teens down the road with, higher levels of anxiety, depression, because it stops ovulation completely.
Yeah,
And I know when I was a teen, I was really big in sports, and it was nice not to have a period.
right.
I could do what my coaches wanted me to. I didn't have to take those breaks like those girls had suggested, or work lighter on the days that I maybe was menstruating. And so I think looking back, that's one thing that I wish I would have done differently, because now I'm really feeling the effects, even in my 40s, of over birth control use, basically.
Absolutely.
I mean, I
Yeah.
think it's awesome to have if you're using it for birth control and you really need it for birth control, but a lot of it is used when it doesn't need to be used. And so, yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's almost like saying like a car that like emergency signals, like lights keep popping on in a car, like fix it lights, and you're
Mhm.
like, I'm just gonna turn off that function so that my car doesn't tell me when there's a problem. And so you might temporarily fix like the annoyance or things that are blaring in your face and be comfortable in some ways, but under the surface, problems are still happening, and it created some new problems now too.
Absolutely.
While their body is like, figuring itself out and this system is now starting up, make sure you've got your signal on to tell you
Mhm.
when things are off or not.
Yeah. And I definitely think using fertility awareness and body literacy, even if you can get your teen to take, like, to do a basal body temperature, like the symptothermal method, it can be really, really insightful. I actually just had a parent and a teen come with work with me, and it turns out she has autoimmune disorder, and we caught that on her chart. And so I think it's so much more than what you think it is,
Yeah.
especially for us educators. We can really dive into root cause and see maybe what's going on and help you work with another provider to get your teen the help that she really needs.
Well, and I think too, as I consider my girls while they're here in my home, gosh, I want them to experience as much as they possibly can while they're in my home. Because when they're not, they got to go figure it out completely alone. And so having a child navigate the ups and downs of their cycle while you can be providing support and doing things to reduce shame and teaching them to know their body and take care of it, that's huge. You want to do it while they're here in your home. I mean, especially for like, I think dads, that's like caregivers can really like provide a lot of support in this by teaching them that it's okay that you are different from day to day. I'm not going to ever shame you or say silly things like, "Well, you must have PMS because of how
Right.
mean you're acting." And it's like, "Oh my gosh,
That's not.
what if they're just 15 and that's how 15-year-olds let them figure out these ebbs and flows of their body and give them like the space and the support to do it. How much more empowered is that going to help them carry through when they're not with you?
Well, and I think if dads can be supportive and understand the menstrual cycle, like I love having dads be supportive.
Mhm.
I've only worked with one dad and a daughter, and it was the most beautiful thing. And I wished every dad would do it. And even my husband, like, he still struggles a little bit. He's getting there, obviously, because Emmy and I like shove it down his throat. But that's going to then allow them to seek out a husband, a future person, if that's their thing, right? Or even just like a significant other that's going to show them that care and support and love during the time where they might not be feeling the greatest, right? So yeah,
Absolutely.
it's role modeling. I mean, it's so great. Yeah. And my husband, he is not perfect, and he has said things before, and I'm like, listen, buddy. And my son sees that too. And so I'm raising my son. I mean, now, if my daughter is on her period, my son goes and gets her a heat pack. He brings her tea. He's the sweetest little soul. I'm like, you are going to have like, your wife is so going to be so lucky if you decide to marry a wife one day. So lucky.
Yes, I love that. I have the girls in my class do like a little take-home quiz for like any dads or brothers or anyone that they have in their home, just like about periods, what PMS means, stuff like that. And then they come back with like the answers and then like a list of all the things they can do to like help me navigate my period. And things like
That's
that.
amazing.
Like feed me nourishing foods, remind me like to sleep and talk to me about my cycle. Don't blame me or how I'm acting on my period. Like anyway,
I need to add that into my thing. That would be awesome.
but I think that you're naturally doing it in your house, right? And that's, I think, one of the areas I love about the work that we do is that we're not just like teaching these kids to love and take care of their body. We're teaching them to go be advocates in their homes and in their communities for other people to love their body as well and to take care of their body and to embrace having a period. It's a ripple kind of a thing that's pretty cool
I
to
love
see.
that so much. That's amazing. Okay, a few more minutes. I just want to ask, as far as like resources go, what do you recommend for both teens and parents? And I can put those in the show notes too, but I guess any final advice to parents who are navigating this stage with their teens, anything like that that you recommend?
Yeah. Well, there's so many books, right? Holy,
Yeah.
so
And you
many.
have some on Instagram like that. You have like a whole entire.
Yeah, yeah, I have a great list that people can download from me on my Instagram account, but there's so many. There's a lot of books that are more geared towards like a girl to just sit and read on her own and explore if she's wanting to know more about it, or ones that are like more educational to side by side together. Um, there's a great one that I really love, but again, you kind of have to know, it depends on the comfort level in the home,
Right.
I guess. But
Yeah.
there's one I really love. We Need to Talk About Vaginas. Who's it by? Allison K. Rodgers, I think. Yeah. And that one's really, really good. There's a really fun one I love that I would recommend to anyone. It's called Bunk Nine's Guide to Growing Up.
Oh, okay.
It's like the funnest book ever because it's written in the way that like as if you stumbled upon this book that the girls at Bunk Nine at like summer camp wrote about your changing body.
That's fun.
So it's darling. It's a really fun way to introduce a lot of topics. I love books like that. There's a great one, Celebrate Your Body by Sonia Renee Taylor. That's so good. She also writes a great book called My Body Is Not an Apology. Or is it Your Body? Your Body is not an apology. That's an incredible book I recommend for moms, especially because that would probably be my advice for if they don't know where to start or how to do this, like how we had said earlier, like start with you. And that book is all about like why you should love your body, not because of what it looks like or what it can do, but because it's allowing you to exist in
Yeah.
life. But then Untangled by Lisa Bernard,
Yes. Oh my
like,
gosh, that is
right, like
such a good book.
the gold
Such,
standard. I just heard about, my friend was sharing a study with me that showed that if you have five trusted adults, the difference between a child like experiencing anxiety, depression, loneliness, suicidal ideation, all these different things drastically lowers by having more trusted adults in your life.
isn't that amazing?
They need safe places to talk to. And I mean, that would probably be, I think you would ask like some advice to for navigating this with their teens
Yeah.
is be a safe place. Like the world is going to toss them to and fro. You need to be the safe place where they can always come to land. And Lisa Damore talks a lot about that in
Yeah.
Untangled.
Yeah, I think also just kind of getting that derogatory feeling about what teenagers are. Like, I feel like "Oh, she's just a teenager." Like, my mother-in-law says it a lot, like, "Oh, well, good luck, you have a teen now," or, like all these things. And I'm like, I love my teen. Like, she's the funnest person ever. Like, we hang out, like, and we, of course, I homeschool, so we're together all the time. But I think just getting that mindset out of your head of that while they're just annoying teens. They're not. They're so cool.
They're so cool. Right. And I have found too that like when you don't label them or put them in those boxes, they are free to move in and out of them so much more easily. Right.
Yes.
If I'm like, oh, she's just a hormonal teenager and I say those kinds of things to her, oh my gosh, she's going to stay there. That's
Yeah.
what I expect her to be. So that's what she's going to be versus giving them the space to be something else. Gosh, she's sweet and fun later that evening. Like
Yeah.
give them space to be anything. And they will. They
Yep.
will. So
And of course, we all have our moments. None of us are perfect. And
no.
yes, we blow up. It's fine. It is what it is. I think we all have emotions. And I know for myself, like I'm working through a lot of things that I maybe didn't heal when I was a teenager. And so trying not to put that on my teenagers, and just kind of understanding and being real with them, like, listen, this is how I'm feeling right now. And that shows them your vulnerability as well, that you do feel discomfort sometimes too.
Absolutely. Yeah, you've got to be, that's been probably the biggest shift in our home and has helped me heading into these teenage years more than anything of being really real, letting them see that I experience discomfort as much as they do,
Hmm.
being vulnerable about that, but then also communicating to them that they're not responsible for how I feel. That goes back into body literacy, that how I feel is my job. And if I don't know, my kids especially, I feel like are very empathetic and they can see when I'm uncomfortable anyways. And so it's better for me to be clear about it and then saying, but I know how to handle this. I'm feeling very overwhelmed and stressed, but I know how to take care of myself. I'm going to go take a little bit of a break. And you're welcome to take a break too if you feel that way. Like, yeah, just modeling that sovereignty, that I'm in charge of how I feel. I observe the things that I feel. They're not bad or good. They just are. And this is how I take care of them.
Yeah.
You can too.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Hayley, I think we've come to the end. Can you let our listeners know where they can find your work and get in touch with you if they are in Utah and they want to come to one of your teen body literacy classes? Where can they find you?
Yes, for sure. Thank you. I'm just on Instagram right now at Womb Honey, and I also do some writing over on Substack, which is also Womb Honey. But that's where I've got, things about my classes. I'm doing summer is all about the teens, and so we're doing like our summer workshops in person. But I also, yeah, work with other folks at different stages of their life as well, and can do online work too, but the in-person classes are here in Utah, northern Utah for this summer. And my email address is hayleyjoy@wombhoney.com. So,
We'll put all that in the show notes, and then I will be sure to tag you and post you in this video. And yeah, thank you so much. And I just want to say, Hayley has beautiful words, so please go read her Substacks. Like, I am not a word person. I'm more of like
I
a visual.
disagree.
I'm a visual doer, and so I struggle a little bit. But I will say, Hayley has touched me with her words so many times, and so yeah, go give her a follow. And yeah, if you're in the area, attend one of her workshops. We still want to do an online course together eventually, but we live in different states, and so it's difficult. So, but hopefully
We
one
will.
day we will. It'll happen. But thank you so much again, and yeah, we will talk to you soon.
Thanks, Ashley. This was so fun. You're the best.